I still remember how overwhelming it was for me to start my business, my first business after, transitioning from my corporate job. I I had been in the workspace. I had been interacting with different people, but still it was it seemed like an uphill battle at that time. Sometimes it still does. But I cannot imagine what women who have taken a break, for years, for months, because of their marriage, because of their kids. I can't imagine what they go through when, after such a long gap, they come back into their workspace, they come back into the workplace by starting their own business. I know it can be really overwhelming. I know boundaries need to be set, with their family, with their loved ones, because when a woman starts something new, the whole family needs to get adjusted to it, isn't it? So that's what we are going to talk on this episode with Megna Karwa. Hey everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. This is the next episode of Soulfully Aligned Business Podcast. And I'm Shruti Vidya Sundaram. Yes, I specifically wanted to tell this because I wanted to add my mother's name in between. And I'm your host. I'm also a soul purpose guide and an intuitive business mentor. And I'm extremely, extremely passionate of of guiding you towards finding your soul's purpose and translating it into a successful, impact driven, mission driven business. And this episode is very special to me because for a long time, I remember my mother being in the same space, right? She had taken a break for, to support me, to support my sister. And after couple of years when I finished my college and my sister went into university and she finished high school and stuff, I still remember my sister and I having conversations with my mom to restart, to to sort of rekindle, to refind her passion and to pursue it. And at that time I had so many questions towards my mother, and a lot of the questions I had to our guest today, which I have asked. So it felt really heartful. So it felt really soulful. She really, if you are a woman who is looking to enter the world of business after a long break, if you're a woman looking to find yourself, to find your passion after a long break, this is the perfect podcast for you. And I genuinely cannot wait for you to take some beautiful insights and let us know what you thought, and let us know if we could help you in any other way, or if we could answer any other questions that you have. Thank you. Thank you so much. I cannot wait for you to listen and get inspired and get a beautiful smile on your face. Thank you. Hey, Meghna, thank you so much for accepting to be on the podcast. It really means a lot. And especially after we met last time, I found this intense connection between us. So it meant a lot that you accepted for this. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're most welcome. And I should thank you for inviting me to this. I'm quite excited for today.
Yeah, I'm really excited too. So, for those of the listeners who don't know what work you do, who don't know about you, if you can introduce yourself, it would be amazing.
Okay. So I'm Megna Karwa and I am 45. I'm a busy mom and I'm also a life coach who changed careers at the age of 40. And then my niche would be helping busy moms find their passion. And this niche probably this niche came to me. It got birthed out of me because I was at that position where I was a busy mom handling life as an expat or as a trailing spouse and managing my kids' schedule. And I lost myself, along the way. And I think I just found myself a coach. I landed at the right time, at the right place because of
Mm.
one decision that I made. And I think my journey over the following 6 months to a year made me realize what my blockers were, made me realize myself, understand myself, and just gain more clarity on what I wanted to do in my life. And I think that led me to a journey of wanting to work with an organization with a coaching program, and also taking up the certification, studying, and just educating myself and getting the right credentials so that I can help young mothers, busy moms just like me, to actually find themselves and move
Mm,
forward in life.
that's so beautiful. Thank you so much for the work that you do, because I'm sure most of the women that you work with, they would have worked at least until marriage, or at least until they've had kids, okay? And then they would have left, as in a lot of cases. And when you have such a huge break, even if it is a couple of years, it sort of puts you out of the race, though I don't mean race, if you know what I mean. It sort
Yeah.
of puts you out of that cycle of working, of putting yourself out there. And especially as women, when we have low confidence in the first place compared to
Yeah.
men, it affects us even more, isn't
Yes,
it? And
absolutely.
that's massive. So, in your own journey, what was, you mentioned that you had to work on your own blocks, right?
Yes.
What was the biggest block for you?
I think the biggest block was, it was a mental block of age, because I was 40.
Mhm.
I was out of work for 15 years.
Mm.
Before that, I was into IT. I was a graphic designer. My second block was also the fact that I did not like what I was doing all my life. So I had to reinvent myself and naturally figure out, what do I really like right now? What do I see myself doing for the rest of my life? So I think those were my two blocks. Also, I live in an international country. I live in Singapore. I'm originally from India. So that was also a little bit of a block, trying to enter the corporate market in a new country at 40. So as you can see, these are blocks which now when I look back, I'm like, oh, that's nothing compared to what I'm facing right now. But yeah, that I would say those would be my top few.
Blocks. Is it the same thing that you find in your clients as well? What is the one thing that stops? So, okay, let's sort of see this. If any of our
Okay.
listeners are women, are young moms who want to get back into work, so let's target this episode for them, right? And
Okay.
let's sort of chart it as a form of a journey of their life journey of sorts. Okay.
Okay.
So, okay, they have one or multiple kids, and they are, as my mom used to do, like, going around them for their schools and taking care of their studies and everything while their partner goes to work, right?
Yes.
And then there is one point where they feel friction inside. They're like, I want, this is what I'm imagining because I have not been through the same. At one point, they're like, okay, something's missing. I want something more out of my life, right? Let's
Hmm.
talk about
Yeah.
that stage. How does that stage feel for your, how did it feel for yourself and for your clients? How does it typically feel?
Okay. So to answer your question in two parts, how did it feel for me? I think that junction came to me amidst COVID. So it's
Mm,
sort of aligned with a lot of things about what's happening around the world, what that loneliness, confusion, kids at home, kids not at home, instability. And once all that, the turmoil of all that settled in, I was in a place of, the biggest friction was that, where do I go from here?
mm,
I think that was a turning point. It made me feel that, okay, tomorrow my kids will, everything is in auto mode right now. From tomorrow, my kids are going to be going to school for 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, husband's at work, my house is running on auto mode. What about me? So I think that void gave me a space to come back to myself, if I have to answer that on
yes,
the
yes.
part.
You did it so beautifully.
Thank you. So, and the second part is, what I noticed in my clients is probably their journey was not at the same parallel as mine. Maybe they were not in the midst of COVID. Maybe they had so many other situations. But I think what they realize now is the impact of social media, where everybody was doing something, whether be in their mid 30s, mid 40s, mid 50s. It could be a result of COVID and everybody starting their own businesses from home. Whatever the sprouting factor was, I felt it came from a point of Everybody is doing something. Why am I not doing something?
Oh.
Everybody is doing something, managing the family, the kids, and everything. What happened to me? What about me?
Mhm.
So the confidence just kept dipping, dipping, dipping when it came back to ourselves, We're like, nobody asked about me. So I think that's a general pattern that I've seen in people,
Oh.
whether the women have been working before and have taken a break. And there have been actually some women who've actually been stay at home moms, and very rightly. So it's a powerful space to be, very underrated, but very powerful. But, after that point, they do want to come back to who they were pre marriage, pre kids, when they had a life of their own, they had their own individuality. So I think it would be a culmination of couple of
Mm.
those points, if
Oh,
I'm
wow.
sounding clear.
Yeah, yeah. And it makes so much sense. And when you were speaking, I got another question, which I'll ask you later. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
okay. So this is the first step, right? The friction keeps building, keeps building. That's the
Yeah,
time that you either scroll social media or you start Googling for stuff, oh, what is this? What is this? And you start having conversations with people. And the friction and fear keeps going side by side
yeah,
until it reaches a breaking point where you're like, go to hell. Like, I'm just going to do what I want to do. Right.
yeah,
I don't know probably what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do something.
yeah.
Right. How does that phase look like?
So I can only talk from initially my honest experience. When I reached that phase that I have to do something, I think it moved from I have to do something to I want to do something. The
Mm.
day that mindset shifted, that I want to do something, I knew nothing can stop me. Whether I had support or, I had a great environment to work in, I had the right people, or I may have had none of those. But I think the drive was shifting your mind that you want to do it. And then the minute you shift your mind, the space that I was in at that point was that I felt things were just coming to me. And I could choose to select them, I could choose to ignore them, but they just, because I let my heart open out, and I really believe in this positive energy of when you tell the universe you want to do something, things just come your way. You just open the door for them. And then, amongst various things that came my way, I tried a few things and one of them clicked. It was one decision which has led me to this. I think we spoke about it last time. So that was the phase I was in. And this wanting to do something has to come from within, no matter how much of social media, no matter how much of progress your peers, colleagues, friends are doing. If it doesn't come from deep within, I don't think you will be motivated enough to go on to doing it the next day and the day after and the day after. So
Oh,
yeah, that was the
so
phase I was in.
so rightly said. And I'm assuming that this is the phase people typically, is this the phase these women should typically look for help? So, at what phase should they start looking for help, external help? Because it's also very overwhelming because there are a million things that you can do, a million things you can start with. And
Yeah,
especially with social media, it can be a massive information overload and you wouldn't know where to start from.
right. So I think when women, because there's so much of self-awareness right now all over the world in every aspect, slowly women are becoming aware of the fact that something is not feeling right. I want to do it. So when that drive starts is when you should start approaching a coach, a teacher, a guidance counselor, depending on what you're looking for. If you are someone who wants to do something but does not cannot recognize what is their passion,
Mm.
or is having difficulty on, oh, I have so many blocks, I cannot do it, but I want to do it. Sometimes they know what they want to do, but they're not confident enough to do it.
Yeah.
So as you rightly said, when that switch happens, when you realize you want to do something and you're ready to do anything for that, that is the step, we come in, or
Yeah.
any support or any form of support comes in.
Oh, okay. So, and I think I'm asking questions like deep from my soul because I've always been curious about it. Right.
Yeah,
And so for these women, when, especially with businesses, right?
yeah,
When you start a business, it isn't typically profitable from day one.
No.
The effort that you put in, it's much more compared to the financial outcome that you get.
Right.
Right. So when in the initial days, probably the first year or two, when you're putting so much effort, when you're not getting that financial return, because it's building up, it builds up
Yeah.
exponentially, right? The curve
Right.
is exponential. And you have to explain at home, because the home dynamics, let it be your partner, let it be your kids, let it be your in-laws if you're living in a joint family, they have
Right.
gotten used to the home operating in a certain way,
Yes.
right? And now
Yes.
you're changing that. You're
Yes.
changing that by slowly by slowly going to work, by slowly, starting to do stuff for yourself.
Right.
And point number one is, how does it actually affect the family dynamics, and how should women set expectations for this? And two, especially like if I say, hey, today I'm going to work and I'm going to earn XYZ amount for the
Yeah.
house, right? Then it is the common assumption that people think, oh, she's earning money, so let her go to work, right?
Hmm.
But when that
Hmm.
does not come in for the first 1 2 years, but you're still
Yeah.
working, you still need that space, you still need the
Yeah.
house dynamics to change. Like, how does it all play out for a woman coming back?
Okay, so I'll answer your first question, which is how did the dynamics play out in my case when we decided to work when the dynamics are already set in the house, right?
Yes.
How to set expectations. So in my case, and in most cases, I think the most important part is having the right intention to work.
Mm.
What is your intention? What is your intent of working? Is
Mm.
it for money, which could be very real and important for a lot of people? Is it for growth? Is it for satisfaction? Is it for filling your time? Is it for a personal gain? Whatever path you choose, the right kind of support is very important.
Yeah.
Because as we cannot, they say a village, it takes a village to raise a child, but
Yes.
it takes a village to for a mother to step out of her branch and to move forward. You
Yes.
need that support from your partner, from your helper, from your children. So setting expectations starts from letting them know what is the kind of support you need,
Mm.
because they may not understand that you are there for them as a parent, as a wife, as a employer, but suddenly you are moving away from that dynamic. So I think what becomes important is setting the expectation and clearly uh, you know telling them what you expect
Mm.
from them as support. When you know that kind of support and that understanding is building up,
Mm.
is what can make you move forward at ease, because then you don't have to worry
Mm.
about managing the nitty gritties of the house, or your life previously to you now stepping out and making
Yeah.
adjustments. And I've had these questions raised from my young kid 4 years ago. He was 7, and he's like, "Mama, you've always been at home, and now you're there, but you're always busy studying. I thought you finished studying when you were in college. Why are you working when Papa is working?" So I've had these questions. So I told him that Mama had a life of her own, and I started setting expectations. It took him some time to get used to it. My older child accepted it faster. So that is how I dealt with dynamics. And I think that is a big thing which stops women from moving forward, thinking, oh, the house is going to crumble when I'm not there. It
Mm.
will. It will. But I tell you, it will crumble, and that's great because you've done so much for it. So that's also great to look at it in that positive way, that see what you've built. But you can go ahead and do whatever you want as long as you clarify what you expect from your partner and your children as support, or your family members as support. So it is a two-way conversation. It has to be built. Once that is done, I think there's nothing that can stop you from moving forward.
Mm.
And what was the second question? I'm sorry, I got
Yes.
a bit.
About financially not being profitable in the first couple of years of business, and
Yeah.
still you need that support, you still
Yes.
need that space, you're still
Yeah.
working hours, right? So how do you handle that?
Well, again, it starts with setting expectations.
Mm.
It starts with really clarifying what your boundaries are, and what setting expectations for support, and also setting expectations as to what you can do
Mm.
as supporting the family? Is it important for the financial dynamics of the family to gain from that income? If it is, then they're going to support you, the husband, the family. But if it is not, then you have to have that kind of a deep level of understanding that this is something you need to do for yourself. And that also sets an example to your children, to especially young girls, that
Mm.
they can also, at the middle of their lifespan, I would say, change careers, step out of the home front, decide to do something of their own, take a break, and do it confidently. So it sets a lot of, and for my son, for boys, it would set a lot of, I would say, a lot of respect for women, so that when they grow up, they have that respect for their partner, for their wife, for their girlfriend, whoever it is, that they also are humans, they also have to do things that they love to do. So if I'm sort of answering your question
Mm.
correctly, I hope this helps.
Yeah. And when you were saying this, I realized that there is a lot of ego coming into play in this transitioning situation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I don't know how it is outside, but here, still, even in tier one and tier two, a lot of
Yeah.
household tasks is taken over by the woman, right?
Yes.
The man goes to work, comes, yes, plays with kids. And it's very, and even if he does something for the house, it's called as help. He's helping
Yes.
the woman,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, and the space of the house becomes a place of, I don't mean it in a bad way, but it becomes a place of ego for women because she has built it up. She has built it
Hmm.
up from the ground up. You know,
Yeah.
she has made sure that everything is in place. She has kept it clean. She has invited guests. She has served them well. She has been a beautiful host. She has been an amazing mother.
Yeah.
And when you sort of go into this stage, I realize that you have to stop carrying a bit less in a good way about the house
Yeah.
and kids. You don't,
Yes.
you you have to reduce your overthinking thoughts about how the house is running or how the kids are running. So you have to take two steps back and let things be as a woman.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
as a man, suddenly there are new responsibilities coming up.
Yeah.
Oh, as some it can be as simple as, hey, take care of the maid. I have a couple of meetings now,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Or take care of the kids, take them out. I need silence at home because I have a
Yeah.
couple of meetings, I have a podcast recording, right?
Yeah.
And suddenly the man also sees some of the duties springing up. The woman has
Yeah.
to let some of her responsibilities go.
Yeah.
So ego sort of plays out in both the man and the woman. How do you see that getting handled in your life and in your clients' lives? Because then we have like a slightly bigger data or people that you have had conversations with, right?
Right. Right. So in my case, I guess it was, as I mentioned earlier, setting expectations of what kind of support you need. Because when you're saying yes to any new work related commitment, you are saying no to something that belonged to you in the house, the time that you gave at home. So it is always a, what are you saying yes to and what are you saying no to, so that balance is always running in tandem. Okay, so when the dynamics come where partners are concerned, again, if the expectation is not set, then you are bound to crumble, you are bound to have arguments, you are bound to have friction, and the woman cannot move forward. Because if you
But I
don't
think,
have, yeah.
so sorry for interrupting.
No.
Megna. It was just a thought, but I think that's why we also find it most difficult, right? The journey, we can only set expectations when we sort of know what we want, right? And in this, again, if I'm wrong, please correct me. I think this is an amazing
Yeah.
point.
No. Please.
Um,
Yeah.
So this is also a place where a woman is rediscovering herself, right? It's been
Yes.
quite some years since she has dug deeper, understood herself,
Right.
like took time to specifically understand herself and what she needs and what
Right.
she wants.
Right.
So this can
Right.
also be a very, because I went through that where, yes, logically, I knew I need to be setting expectations, right? But
Yeah.
there are just phases where you don't know what you want. You don't
Yeah.
know how to meander the situation. Everything is so new to you, right?
Yeah.
A lot of women that I see, they are not, I mean, it's a journey, of course. Like,
Right.
you're not that clear. Oh, this is what I
Yeah.
want. This is what I don't
True.
want. And it becomes a journey, right? So how do these women and their partners meander this journey? Because this journey takes a long time.
Yeah, it does. Most of the women, let me tell you, who I've coached, don't know what they want. But they what the one thing that they do know is they want to break out of their shell, and that drive is something that, the conversation starts from home, and the conversations they have with their kids, with their family, that, I need to do something. And I think in today's day and age, partners understand that things, it takes time to figure oneself out. I mean, hey, you have a partner who's, even though he's been in this career for 25 years, doesn't know what he wants.
Yes.
Most people don't know what they want. But the fact that you're trying to break out of the shell, that yes, I do want to do something, I am going to go on this journey. Of course, a little bit of, I think, conversation back and forth, adjustment does happen. But we women are natural multitaskers.
Mm.
When we think and we know that this is our time to go ahead and do something, we're not going to shut door in the house and walk out and go get a job. No, we're going to make sure that everything, as we set in auto mode, is in auto mode, so that,
Mm.
there are understandings, there are plans in place. You have to be organized to do that. And once you know the basic structure of the day is in place, who's coming, who's going, food, travel, etc., you can go ahead and do. And that's the power of a woman, that we, no matter how much we think of ourselves, we are still superseding the thoughts of our family supersede us. And it will always be. That's, I think, the general energy of a woman.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's what I would see in my clients. That, and for myself also, I think I did not know what I wanted to do for 2 years. I just kept doing and doing, and I was also managing the house. I also kept setting expectations that this is the kind of support I need. I have to go for this extra class. I have to go and meet this extra. I have to go for this networking event. I have to do these things. I was not available at a lot of times when my kids were having sessions or classes and pickups. So that had to be pre-organized. Unlike for a man, of course, who
Yeah.
can go to office at 9 a.m. and come back at 6 and everything is taken care of. But that's their profile. So I wouldn't judge that, but that's how it is.
Does it get, I don't know, and because in a couple of years I'll be entering my 30s and starting
Okay.
my family too. When I listen, even my mom keeps telling this to me. And as a 20-year-old, this seems very overwhelming. And I'm being very honest, right? Like just a couple of days ago, I was having conversation with my husband that, hey, the point is not me telling you what to do and you doing, right? Because you thinking, okay, even as a simple thing, oh, I have to make 3 meals, like, oh, what meal should I make? That takes so much brain space. And all the planning that you said right now, it takes so much brain space. And
Right.
when you and I think this is a very right time because same, I was setting the expectations with him. Hey, so when I tell you the maid is coming and like take care of her, I expect you to take care of her completely and not come
Yeah.
and ask me
Yeah.
questions. You know,
Right.
okay, what
Yeah.
should I make her do? What should I, make her cut what vegetables should I make her cut and stuff? Because every small decision takes
Correct.
up so much brain space.
Right.
And when a woman is so used to the home space and she's stepping out to build her own career, it
Yeah.
feels like, at least in the initial days, it feels like, so she has to take all these things, even if she's
Yeah.
delegating tasks, that's what she's doing, right? At the
Yeah.
end of the day, she's delegating tasks, and those tasks
Yeah.
aren't by default being handled without
Right.
her.
Right.
And so that brain space is still getting taken in her head,
Yeah.
and she's
Yeah.
taking on more pressure. And yes, we are better multitaskers. We do manage things well. But sometimes I just wonder, like, do we really need to? Yes, we can. But do we need to, like, why, like, is there a better way to do this? Because it does get very overwhelming. And at times, like, women are much more burnt out than
Yeah,
men, according
right,
to like a lot of studies, and they are much more overworked than
right.
men,
Yeah.
right? So the question, is there a better way to do it? Is there, other than setting expectations, of course, is there, is there a, is there a better way to be?
Yes. And it's balance. You have to be in balance, because without understanding how much time you have, 24 hours, without understanding how much time you want to give to your work and how much time you want to give to your family, and really taking a step back, and we as a coach actually start with certain tools, which help you analyze where are you in your life, how, what is your day being filled up with, and when you really introspect and see step by step what is going on, you learn how to find the right balance. You
Mm,
find pockets of time that you actually waste, not wasteful in the sense of, it may be very, it's like non-stop Netflixing, non-stop scrolling. That might be fun, but if you really want to do the work, you need to stop that. So then you start finding gaps in your day where you can fill in that time for your career, and you find gaps in the day where you fill in the time for your family. And we as a, family member, as a partner, daughter, mother, sister, we are a family, we're a unit, so you can't totally disconnect from your unit. You
that's
have
true.
to still be a part of that unit, and rightly so, it's a great thing to be proud of,
Yeah.
and so if we turn and shift our perspective and look at ourselves at that, what, like, what a great human being we are. We have multitasked in the last so many years. We've set our house in a way that, making decisions every day, understood all our qualities. When you look at yourself like that, you realize you have the potential to do more. And again, when the want is, the desire of wanting to do it is so strong, then you start finding your way around. And as you said, it does get overwhelming. It is a very, very natural emotion, I should say. And one does get overwhelmed, they have to pause, take a step back, and understand what is the trigger of the feeling of overwhelming. It's
Mm,
most of the time it is time management, as simple as that. It's not understanding where your day is going, and not understanding where your day is going just leads to a flurry of emotion called frustration, anger, sadness and restlessness.
yeah.
So I would deal with overwhelming, emotions like that.
Mm. Oh, wow. You've made me think a lot, because in the past couple of years, especially, I've been asking my mom to get back to work.
Yeah.
And, we have been saying that, hey, we'll support you. You get back, you get back. And she's found her own passions. And it's so incredible to watch, because she's such a brilliant woman. Okay. And worked in a bank for many years and left her job for me. And then now, since a couple of, exactly, especially since COVID, my sister was just about to finish high school. So we were like, hey, both of us, we are in that end phase, and you don't need to sit with us anymore. Please, please, please go and do what your heart wants and what your heart asks you to do. And now she's been taking space for herself and time for herself and setting expectations, as you mentioned, right? And delegating tasks to my dad. And it's so beautiful to watch. And I've been having these questions, like, I keep asking her also, oh,
Yeah.
like, what does your heart want? Like, what do you actually feel? Oh, what boundaries are you not setting? What expectations are you not setting? And especially, she's 52 now. And especially for a woman in her 40s and 50s, that whole journey, especially like you also start menopause in that
Yeah.
phase, right?
Right.
And that's again a full flurry of emotions. It's it's so beautiful to see, like, a zillion layers
Yeah.
of a woman. and
Right.
to see it from a third perspective as an adult, because as a child you see your parents differently, and as an adult you see your parents differently, isn't it? And I've had all these questions for quite some time, and it felt so nice, like, to
Absolutely.
ask them to you.
Thank you. So, as you can see, you see your parent in such a different light right now. You see her as someone who you get inspired by. You see her that at 52, she's actually wanting to follow her passion. You see her setting expectations in her own way. Of course, it's not black and white. It
Exactly.
has to be, it's a process, you know. And then, so when you flip the whole thing around, like me being 45 and me being a mother, I want to set that expectation. I want my children to see me like that. I want them to get inspired. I want them to know that nothing can stop you. You
Mm.
need to find the right support system to move forward. Nobody can move alone. You know, if you think that you can walk alone, you'll not go too far. Let me tell you
Yes.
that. You
Yes.
need to have the support. And that's why I keep coming back to the point of inner drive, inner want. Even though you don't know what you want, you have that drive and
Mm.
the right support system and having setting expectations of what you expect from them. Like, as when you flip the whole thing around and you look at your mother, I'm sure she will say, hey, Shruti, I'm going to be working from 10 to 4. Can you manage so and so and so? Only
Yes.
when you are on board with her can she actually go out and do that work. But if
Mm.
she just says, oh, manage this and just move out, she's not being clear in her setting her expectations from what she wants from you to get that support. So all these small fragments come together, and women don't realize that these are actually the basis of wanting to layer and take that step. And when you start taking small steps, the confidence just comes. You're like, wow, I just made a call today. Wow, I just sent an email today, because you have everything else taken care of.
Yeah.
So, finding that block is what, it becomes very important. And once you know the blocker and the triggers, it's very easy to move forward and deal with the overwhelming feelings as well.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Um, you answering things from your perspective, especially
Yeah.
at your age, and I mean it in a
Yeah.
good way. It means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Shruti. And I also wanted to say that, I didn't realize, but over the last 6 months, I've had young adults, or I should say, my niece and nephews who are 24, 25, who've called me and said, you are so inspiring to start something so new at that age. So I always stop and I tell them it's because of my support system,
Mm.
and it's because of my drive, and it's and I'm now okay to accept that if I want to change my mind tomorrow, it's okay. If I want to stop
Yes.
working, it's okay. To be okay with stopping to work or changing your mind or changing your career, to have that confidence, keeps you going.
Yes.
Otherwise, what we fear is, what if this will not happen? What
Yeah.
if I get stuck? So changing your mindset from a negative to a positive, it's okay if it won't work. What if it works?
Yes.
What if everything goes as planned? And what if it doesn't work? So what? I'm
Yeah.
okay to stop and change. So all these are conversations and talks you have to have in yourself, and that's a lot of what coaching actually teaches you, or I should say supports you to think about,
Mm.
where we naturally people don't. So when my niece and nephew, they tell me all these things, they're like, it makes us feel that today we can take a risky decision, jump in it, and after 10 years, if we want to change our mind, we can. I said, of course you can. You can do it in a different country. You can do it if you have a family or you're traveling. You can do anything you want to do.
Yes.
So I feel that if I've inspired them to already remove blockers which we have grown up with, it's great. So I'm happy about that.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes. Wow. Yeah. We have come to almost the end of the episode, but as a last question, is there something that you would tell to moms who are, what is the one advice that you would give for moms who are coming back to the workforce because they are so crucial and so important.
You are not alone. Look around you. There's every person dealing with taking a step forward,
Hmm.
and just do it. Do it with the right support system and just do it.
Yes.
Because I think most of the busy moms, I always call them busy moms because it gives a little bit of flavor to motherhood because we're always busy in our mind and our body. We're generally not a relaxed person by nature. So I always tell them that just stop and just move forward.
Hmm.
Just stop and think about what you want to do and just move forward. Stop and think about the fact that the person beside you is stuck, making a decision of its own. The person on the left of you, person on the right of you, person ahead of you, person behind you, everybody is stuck. Nobody says it. Just go and do it and go and be an inspiration to people. So
Hmm. Wow.
it
Wow.
was
This sort of reminded me of that quote like, I have seen a strong woman, I have seen a successful woman, I have seen an angry woman, and multiple other tags. And it said, but I have never seen a relaxed woman.
mom,
Yeah.
woman, yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
And I hope for the people who are listening to this, when they go on this journey, they also go on the journey to relax a bit and to segregate things in their head and set expectations and delegate things and relax a bit.
So rightly said, Shruti. And I wanted
Yeah.
to actually tell you this, that one of the tools that I do in my coaching practices, which is in the first tool that I sit with, is the Wheel of Life. And in that, one of the biggest compartments is entertainment, fun. What do mothers do for fun?
Oh my
You,
gosh.
You'll be like, I don't have time for fun. Well, let's look at your Wheel of Life. So, these are very important. And I'm so happy you brought that up because I didn't want to get into that part of it because it was not a part of the podcast discussion. But
No, please, please get it.
definitely, yeah, definitely relaxing, having fun, having time for yourself. And
Yeah.
trust me, Shruti, the mothers and some of my clients who have been in this journey have actually told me I've actually found time to take an extra class of piano or to go,
Oh,
roller
wow.
skating or to go for my spas. I've realized how I am important to me, and that is such a powerful statement for me as a coach. And I'm like, you found
Yes.
yourself.
Yes. 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 It sort of reminds, I think a couple of weeks back, I don't remember. I was asking my mom, I was like, Amma, when was the last time you laughed out so hard? Like your stomach ached, you know?
Yeah,
And she was like, it's been quite some time.
what a
And
beautiful question, Shruti. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I keep asking, like, I keep throwing all these questions at her. And she'll like, just stop coaching me, like, stop digging deep. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And I just wish let this episode be an ode to all mothers to laugh a bit harder, to relax their shoulders a bit more, for the bros in their eyes, the twinkles in their eyes to reduce a little more, right? And for more smile lines to come in and let their eyes shine a bit brighter. And yeah, let their world fill with color, right? That's
beautifully
all
said.
we want.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Because we busy moms are worth it.
Yes.
L'Oreal. We are so worth it. And today, after 4 years, I can proudly say I'm worth it. I deserve a day out. I deserve a break. I'm gonna, love myself a little more, take time out for myself. And I think, when we start doing that, we become a better mother too, become a better wife, become a better person for people around us. So,
Yeah.
what you said was beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, this was beautiful, Megna. Thank you. Thank you so, so much from the bottom of my heart to, I think the one main thing I took out of this podcast was to set expectations. I think we know it's the basic thing, but as women, we forget it because again, it feels like there is this zillion things coming at you right? And it's hard to take time out for yourself and see what you actually want, and at least the next step, if not 10 steps ahead, right? And to
Yeah.
set those expectations.
More than forget, I think is that we have forgotten to ask. We have
Ah,
forgotten to have the guts, forgotten to have the power to ask for expectations for ourselves. We've lost it because we've been a giver all our life. Give and give and give your time, give your energy, give your thing. We have forgotten the way to ask, you know?
oh, wow. This
So
should be another episode.
yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt, but yeah, but
No, no.
I totally believe that the minute you start asking, with it'll be set. The expectations will be set.
Yes, yes. Here's to asking without guilt. Okay.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so, so much, Meghna, for accepting to come on, for being your beautiful, amazing self. And
Oh,
just thank you. Thank you for giving a different perspective and insight to a lot of questions that I had inside my heart. Thank you. It really means a lot.
most welcome, Shruti. I really enjoyed this podcast today. Actually, it brought me back also a little in time with it's been a while since I've been coached. So this conversation was more like a self-reflection for me as well as to where I was 4 years ago. So I really appreciate that. And I'm getting a bit of fuzzy feeling thinking about my journey. So thank you for that. And I hope all the listeners will find themselves and find the power to love themselves and just happy Mother's Day. That's what I would say. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Have a lovely day, Shruti. Bye.